Back at the dojo where we belong, everyone. Live from Red Bull Gaming Sphere, a warm welcome to our third installment of the NIP Talk Show, where we feature your favorite hosts, guests, personalities, and of course, coaches. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a warm welcome back to Pyjama Party. Jag hör inte det. Jag hör inte det. Tack. Our guest for our third episode needs no introduction, but you know what? I'll just give him one anyway. Sweden's most successful FIFA/EA player of all time, one of the best players in the world, and often noticed as one of the nicest guys ever, both on and off the camera. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show, Ollelito Albin.
Ollelito in those huge clutch moments. That pose could be a gift. Ollelito! That could be game, set, match! The team that is unbeaten in this entire tournament.
It's my absolute honor to welcome you to the show, Olle. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. I mean, very, very happy being here. So
you actually are, I can tell.
Yeah.
It's lovely having you. So, actually, we have a lot to talk about. I kind of want to bring it back to the start because you've been on a long and crazy journey these past couple of days. So, one thing I mentioned going into the research, one thing I actually caught was apparently this whole thing started by some sort of accident that pushed you into this path. Do you mind just taking on a bit of a journey where what that was and how it all started?
I think I've been playing football for my whole life, basically. Still playing football. I'm 22 now. Recently turned 22. So as I said, been playing football my whole life. Got a pretty heavy injury when I was like 16. I broke my collarbone, so I was away from football for like half a year. So like a long time, you know, being away from the game that I love, right? And then I basically found FIFA, you know. I needed to find football in some kind of way, and for me it was like FIFA was like the perfect kind of path to go then.
Okay.
And then started to play a lot of FIFA, of course. Couldn't really do much, right? So just sitting in my room and playing a lot, and suddenly became really, really good at the game, and then got signed by NIP, right? So it's a hell of a journey, yeah.
It is, like I said, it's a long and strange journey. So we saw the pictures over there. Obviously, still as happy as always, even though a broken collarbone.
Yeah.
How does that affect you at that young of age? How was it? Was that always a dream going into football? Was FIFA back then? Was that just a side quest at that point? Was it always football that was the main objective?
For sure, and I think with me it's always like when I'm going into something, it's like 110%.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going into football, you know, playing it 90%. I want to be the best, and for me, you know, when I had that feeling that I couldn't really like pursue that kind of career in football, you know, I mean, FIFA was like the kind of perfect path to go, I guess.
But I mean, at that age, how troubling is that? Because you're that young.
Yeah.
You want to go all into football, obviously. You're obviously very good at it as well. How does that change your mindset a bit? Because I guess that's just your dreams just shatter overnight.
Yeah.
You get one injury, and then suddenly your entire path changes.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, when I was away for like half a year, as I said, I mean, like you lose a lot quite quick, like the ball control, stamina, all that kind of stuff, right? And I mean, under that kind of period when I couldn't really like train or do whatever, I mean, as I said, I started to find FIFA and actually started to realize that I was actually pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it was tough moments, but I think I've had a lot of tough moments in my career, and I think you grow as a person from these kind of moments as well a lot. So yeah.
100% agree. Was there a FIFA interest coming in before the accident? Was there any FIFA interest, or did you just actually? Is that where it started?
I would say so.
Take a break, okay?
Yeah.
Generally.
Maybe like. I think we're back. Take break. Hopefully, you guys can hear us now. So I want to bring it back to, like we said, about the accident. So, was there any FIFA interest coming into that after? Is there a before and after the accident in terms of FIFA play-wise? Was it always a hobby before, or what did it look like afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's always been, you know, quite a hobby, I would say. Like, not only FIFA, but just playing video games a lot. I used to play a lot of like Lego Star Wars and stuff with my dad, and actually back in the days when I was like 10, 12. So I guess my dad influenced my life in that kind of way, you know, finding video games, and I actually started to like it a lot, right, and having it as a hobby. And then, as I said, football and FIFA goes hand in hand. So it was quite an easy choice, you know, to actually like decide that FIFA is like my main game, I would say. Yeah.
So you brought the football interest and aspect, and he brought the video game aspect into your life, I guess.
Right.
And FIFA it was a perfect marriage, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
So were you always good? The instant you picked it up, was it something about it? Do you think that influenced? Do you think because you were good at actual football, do you think that somehow influenced the way you play FIFA now? Or do you think you got a head start going into FIFA at that young of an age?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've had these kind of questions before also to myself, and I mean, I think the kind of vision I think helps me a lot in like normal football as well. You know, as on the FIFA pitch, you know, I see passing lanes, I see stuff that people might not really consider right when they play. So I think for sure it's been helping me throughout my career, and I think that's something that people just get. It's not something that you can really learn, you know. So I mean, FIFA has given me a lot to football, but I think also football has given me a lot to FIFA. So I think, as I said before, they go hand in hand in that kind of way. Yeah,
I agree. So that's where the FIFA journey started. So going into streaming.
Yeah.
Was that also somehow connected to you playing FIFA? Was streaming a part of that? Was it always FIFA on your stream? Because I mean, how long have you been streaming now? A couple of years? Not full time, but yeah, exactly. So how did that actually start? Just going live for the first time? Because I always think that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Was it do you want to become better? Do you want to show off to your friends?
Yeah.
Like, how did the streaming actually start?
A funny thing actually when I started to stream was that I didn't really like start my career with streaming, so I started to like upload a few YouTube videos, and back then you didn't really have a lot of, I guess, really good players uploading videos on YouTube, so I was one of the few, especially from Sweden, right? So I started off with Swedish, and I got one of the biggest Swedish content creators to open one of my, I guess, top 100 packs. So only...
Who's this?
Yeah, this is Javanders actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, he helped me a lot in my career. We also have Gege Frolle, who is a guy that I know super well. And I would say they started my career a bit. You know, I got, 2,000 subs over like one night, right? And so that was a pretty good head start. And then I started to upload more and started to stream a bit on YouTube. And then back in 2020, I switched over to Twitch. Okay. And for now, I've been streaming in English for like, I think it's 3.5 years, 4 years.
The starting streams on YouTube, were they an instant success because of the connections you had? Because I feel like you try to make it a bit of a luck, because I knew these people. I don't really believe in luck. I think you create your own one. Yeah. Do you think, how do you view back at it now? Was it an instant success, or was it a grind going into the YouTube part of streaming?
I think it's always been a grind.
Yeah.
And as I said before, you know, if I'm going into something, I want to do it 100%. So I think I saw this kind of thing on YouTube where I said like there was not a lot of pro players that were doing content, right? So I saw my opportunity a bit there, and I just took it, and then you started to grind, and then people actually started to like love the streams, right? Because they actually had like live footage of a guy that's really good at the game, but also good at explaining what he's doing. So like people can implement it to their own game, kind of. So I think that's why I'm a bit special in that kind of sense, you know. Not a lot of pro players are doing content, but also being able to help people. And I think that's something that, you know, makes me super happy, seeing that people are doing well.
But even back at that time, you were always good. Were you always above average, even at that time when YouTube started, when you started uploading the YouTube videos? Were you always better than everyone else?
I would say so, yeah. You had a game mode called Weekend League then, and there was like basically, you know, you could get top 100 rewards, top 200 rewards, and then started to finish top 100, and that was in the whole world, kind of.
I've watched Sidemen, I know what it is.
So I was still like one of the, I guess, better players online at least.
Okay.
Like not on the same level as I am now, of course, but I was definitely like a upcomer then. That was, as I said, streaming, so yeah.
Do you think that married with the fact that you obviously are very social, very charming, do you think those two combinations made you what you are today? Because obviously there are some streamers that if you're good enough, people watch you. But I think you might be one of the few that has both of those individual performances in terms of both the social part of it and the skill-wise. Do you think that's why you stand out even today, because you have that combination?
I would say so, and I don't think, as I said before, I don't think there's a lot of people that actually has both. Like either you're really good at FIFA and not really like, I guess, talented in terms of like streaming and trying to make the audience like the gameplay or yourself, or you're really good at streaming and not really having like the FIFA abilities, right? And I'm super happy to have both, to be honest. And I think I've been showing that throughout my years as well, when I've been streaming and starting to commentate a bit, doing some analyzing as well. So I'm super blessed, having everyone watching me and really liking what I do in terms of FIFA gameplay, but also like how I approach all the people coming into the stream.
And it's always been FIFA. No variety, no Fortnite, no Counter-Strike. Has it always been 100% FIFA?
I'm gonna be completely honest. We had kind of a spell around 2019, and
Fortnite?
of course Fortnite, yes.
Everyone did.
Yeah, so I was streaming maybe like, I don't know, 1 or 2 months of Fortnite, but then I realized that I wasn't as good as I was in FIFA, so I was like, okay, now we need to stream FIFA a bit more again.
It's fun being good at games, you know what I mean? Like, if you're good, it actually makes it more fun.
Yeah.
In terms of, you spoke about it a bit about your community, which is a huge part of where we are today.
Yep.
How much of your back they actually have, both in rough times and good times. So how big of a difference in terms of your career has they been, always knowing that the community has your back?
For sure, and I definitely feel like recently, when I've been starting to like streaming more consistently, I feel like people actually appreciate me more than what they did before. But always having that kind of backup, when you actually have people that actually care about you and like you for what you're doing, instead of just like me playing FIFA, right? It's super important. And I mean, as I said, I'm super blessed to have like that many people that actually watches me and like keeps on supporting me both in good and bad times, as I said. But I think mainly why I've been succeeding as well is also because I actually care about the people that watch, kind of. I want to make people better at the game, and some people even think that I'm giving out free lessons when I'm streaming. So yeah, I think it's a big compliment.
It's a nice problem to have, being talked to as too nice.
Yeah.
Like, you're too nice to us. That's a good problem to have. So you talk a bit about people. I actually want to touch a bit on terms of people who influenced you going into this. You've mentioned a couple of names. Does anyone stand out in terms of helping you on the journey you are on right now, but also maybe having, maybe not a mentor, but something you can bounce things off of?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think I gotta say my family has always been super supportive, like always been supporting me. But definitely one guy that stands out is always like Boris, of course.
Okay.
Boris legend, Ivan Lapagna, people know him.
Love that name.
Yeah, it's a sick name.
Yeah, it really is.
So I mean, he's been influencing my life, both like FIFA kind of part, but also like my personal life. And I mean, overall in the FIFA part, I mean, I think I've learned a lot from him in terms of how you go into games mentally. Because we played the first Swedish league then, and that was also my first kind of LAN tournament, right? And I remember I was so nervous going into games, usually I should be beating the people that I played against. I didn't, and then just having Boris there with me, him supporting and him trying to teach me things and, giving me small tips is something that I didn't really take for like granted back then. So as I said, he's been wonderful to me. He's still been like a wonderful person towards me, and I see him as like a bigger like brother that I can talk to with anything. Yeah,
because interesting thing there is, because you two have almost been on the same path, just he was on it a bit before you, I guess. So has it been those kind of like pitfalls, what to avoid, maybe not secrets in itself, but just knowing a point of direction, I guess, coming from him? Is that what he's been helpful with as well?
For sure. And as I said, like I think with me, I always had like the FIFA abilities, but when it comes to like the mentality, that's where I've been lacking, right? And I think that's actually one of my strongest points now. And I think, that's because of Boris, right? Like he's been teaching me so much. And I can tell you, the number one tip that I can give out to guys is that Boris always tell me one thing. When you go into LAN events, take your own pillow from home.
Oh, actually, that's actually not bad.
Nah,
that's
it's
really
not.
good.
Yeah.
It's such a small detail, but it makes a huge difference. Other than Boris, obviously, we also have to move into what was an extremely successful part of your career, Olle, that you spent with your former partner Levy, or Levy, however you pronounce it in Dutch. We actually have a small clip of that and that formation forming, how it started. So please take a look.
And I think the first time we met, it was maybe a bit awkward because he came from Sweden, I'm from the Netherlands.
Swedes, I think, are like quite, I wouldn't say scared, but more like they don't want to seem like they are arrogant. Definitely, I would say Dutch people are more like direct when it comes to like communication.
Levy has like this as a state of mind, and Olle has that one. Like they're completely opposite.
Obviously, a very interesting documentary for those of us who have seen it. Obviously, we know how it develops, but I kind of want to point into that as well, because you talk about a lot about the mental aspect of it, but also, I guess, gameplay-wise. How has Levy helped you kind of evolve? Let's start off as a player. Has it made you a better player in that partnership?
For sure, and I think we push each other a lot to become better together, and I think that was something that was clashing a bit at the start.
Okay.
Like, I know that we were really, really good in terms of practice, but when it actually came to the games, I could feel like both of him and me were a bit too much nervous, if that makes sense. Yeah. So we didn't really play our A game when we were starting to practice. But then, like, throughout the years, when we developed our kind of partnership, but also like our friendship, right? I mean, I think we could trust each other a lot more than we could at the start. And as you saw in that video, we're completely different in terms of that. Levy could be like a lot direct at me, really telling me.
He's Dutch.
Yeah, he is Dutch, and I'm Swedish, right? So sometimes I even took that a bit too personal when I shouldn't really. So as a Swede, we're a bit more laid back, not really want to be too direct. But I think that's something that I've learned a lot from, and this is definitely something that I will be having with me throughout my whole life, and maybe with another person that I'm playing with. Yeah.
That nervousness that you mentioned at the start, going into with nerves into new games, is that disappointing him? Is that maybe not trusting him? Because after all, you've been through on a personal level and on the absolute insane level that you're playing at. Do nerves still exist when you play solo?
I would say so, but the biggest thing I always feel is that I don't want to let him down.
Okay.
Because I will always be like, when I'm playing with someone or when I have a coach, kind of a team, I will always put all my trust into them. So I was always trust them, but it's more like I just want to make them proud.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to disappoint the team when I play with Levy, for example, and that's what I mean. I don't want to do a mistake, I don't want to lose the ball in build up and make the opponent score a goal because of it, right? So this was finding a bit of a balance between actually risking things, but also be brave enough to do decisions and make decisions by your own.
I actually saw an interview he did where he mentioned it almost like a battlefield. He doesn't care about his own health. He just wants his brothers to live.
Yeah.
And I thought that was absolutely perfect. It's all about not letting you down.
Exactly.
How does that partnership start? So you have this duo tournament, obviously went on to win it. Insane success, probably the highest high of your career so far, I can imagine. How does that partnership start? Is it just you sliding into his DM, saying you want to play this tournament? How does that work in terms of what was back then FIFA?
I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the club that I was signed for before NIP was Team Hullet then. Yeah. And Levy is still signed for Team Hullet. So, of course, I had Team Hullet as still have my coaches there and all that kind of stuff. I still had them there. So it was a pretty easy decision, making a collab out of it, right? So me and Levy played for something that was called TG which was both Team Hullet and NIP, but the partnership together. So we could play together. So it was not like I was sliding into his DMs or him sliding into mine.
It was a perfect match, I guess, from the start. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think our play styles, when you look at it before, I mean, we complement each other really, really well, So, yeah.
Can you still do that today in terms of partnerships? I'm not. We're going to move a bit into what the format looks like now, but is it that easy still? Am I wrong for thinking it's too commercialized now for that to actually happen, or does that still work? Still, you're both under the same, what was then two different organizations.
Yeah.
You start playing together and you win the biggest prize of them all. Is that possible today in today's climate?
I wouldn't, with this year, I wouldn't really say so, mainly because of the format that we're going into a bit more deeper later. But I don't think these kind of collabs as we had with, as I said, TG and IP, we didn't really see them a lot in general. Yeah. And I think that was basically because NIP, one of the biggest esports orgs in the world, Team Hullet, arguably one of the biggest FIFA orgs in the world, right? Coming together and having two of the best players in the world together, I think was something that was quite easy choice for them, having me as their player before I joined NIP and then Levy still being with TG. So it was quite an easy choice for both NIP and Team Hullet to go together, I would say.
What was the start like with him then? Was it honeymoon period and then it started to fall off? Because the way both of you talk about it is it was a rough start, obviously. Yeah. Is that in terms of how you guys connected? Are we talking about results? Are we talking about the partnership? Because like I said, it ended so incredibly well. Yeah. Looking back at it now, I can't really see him being that bad. Yes, he's Dutch. Yes, he's direct. Yes, you and I are both Swedish. We know how we are. But I mean, the success is insane. So how did it actually start? Was it bad vibe at the start, or was it just like how is this going to work out vibe?
I think in terms of practice, we've always been like very chill, you know. I never been nervous or like have anything before practice. But when it actually came to tournaments, I think the results the first 1.5 year wasn't the best.
A year and a half
Yeah.
with decent results.
Yeah,
or
with
are we
decent
talking
results.
bad results?
I would say decent ones,
Yeah.
but I mean, when we kind of built this kind of team with
Yeah.
Team Ollelito and IP, you know, I think all and everyone outside of the organization, you know, were thinking straight up success, right?
Yep.
So I think it was definitely like pressure on both me and him, and he was by then when he joined, I guess, the Team Ollelito and IP. I mean, he was 16 then, so he was like very, very young. You know, and it was almost like I needed to get that kind of mentor role that Boris had for me, you know, and trying to learn him things and trying to teach him things. So as I said, it took a bit of time, but I mean, when we look back at it, it was definitely like worth all the grind and worth all like the time that we put down together, you know. And I mean, nowadays he's like one of my closest mates in the scene, right? That I've been sharing like both good moments and bad moments with, of course.
But I mean, that's patience, because I'm just thinking about where I'm from in terms of the FPS games, the CS, Valorant, whatever it is. A year and a half with decent results wouldn't really fly. I know it's a different game. I know it's a different ecosystem like we spoke about.
Yeah.
Was there any ever talk about, like I said, after a year and a half, before it turned around, and it turned around big, was there ever any talk about maybe this might not work out? Or was it all like, no, we're too good for this to fail?
I think, I mean, if you looked at practice, I mean, I don't really think overall our kind of journey, I don't think we lost a lot of practice games overall. So we've always been very, very confident in terms of practice. But as I said, it was always something that wasn't clicking when it came to like, you know, tournaments. And I think as I talked about before, it's about being brave, you know, like risking it a bit as well, like in terms of how you play the game. But I think if we look back at like a bad season, we still had a top 9 finish in the world. And then in and then in the E-Club World Cup, we managed to finish 3rd. But for us, it was still like, you know, we want to win that trophy, right? Because we really felt like we had the level. So,
Well, I got to say one thing. You know you're good at the game when a bad finish is top 9 in the world and 3rd in the that's pretty decent.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to talk about, we touched about it a bit in terms of the ecosystem of the games. We spoke about the duo bit of it. Is this something now that's going to go missing with the new, I don't even know what to call it, the new, the factor of the new game, the format of the new game, I guess. Is that something that's going to be missing out? Is that a wise choice in your view? Like, what's the actual difference between last year and now? How come you can't recreate that success in terms of a duo team?
Unfortunately, I think EA decided to part ways with like the kind of 2v2 thing. And for me, from my own view, I mean, I think that's really, really bad. Because, I mean, I always like the kind of team aspect, you know. And as we started the talk show with, I've been playing football my whole life, and it's like a team sport, right?
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Winning as a team is something that I rate way more than just winning by myself. So that's something that I will miss a lot, of course. And I mean, I always rated playing 2v2 over 1v1, basically, because you win as a team and you lose as a team.
100% agree. Easy question for you: is the game headed in the right way? Just an easy one, you know, just a quick one.
50-50, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's a good part about this new one? The AFC
I
one?
think it's more different kind of ways to actually like play the game, I would say.
Okay. Just gameplay wise, we're talking out like the actual gameplay.
Gameplay wise, exactly. We have, of course, a few formations that's like most used in terms of pros.
Is that? Can I just interject quick? Is that a thing in FIFA as well? EA, sorry, a meta formation, an OP formation. So you go 3-4-2-1, whatever you do.
Yeah.
That's a thing in this game as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think one thing that was good for this season that they actually decided here was that they banned all 5 at the back and 3 at the back formations.
Because they were OP.
Because they were OP, but also because everyone was playing 5 back and it was a bit like the
Boring.
gameplay wasn't the most funniest.
Okay.
So I think we have way better gameplay in terms of like viewers watching now. You know, like watching for at the back formations playing each other, and a lot more goals in terms of that. And I think that's what the people want to see. You know, instead of people you know playing 5-4-1 versus 5-4-1 and just like you know going to pens. 0-0.
Boring gameplay. Yeah. Speaking of not boring gameplay, obviously make sure you keep the questions coming in. Chat Q&A is coming up. I know it's your favorite segment. I'm just having so much fun talking with Olle, so make sure you get those questions coming in chat. So like I said, well, the favorite part of the Twitch audience, and they're very, I mean, you know how it is, they're very loud, is obviously the Q&A. But before we head into that one, I kind of just want to know the esports part of this. We spoke about the actual game.
Yeah.
We all know the journey of, let's say, a CS, a Fortnite, League of Legends, way to the actual professional scene.
Yeah.
Is there any difference there if you compare it to what EAFC is today? Because I know in terms of the games I watch, if you're good enough, you're going to make it to the top. You will be signed by an absolute top team. You can live off the salary. You can more than enough live off the salary. Is that the way it works in EAFC now, or is there any real difference between CSGO, for example?
I would say a
CS2?
perfect comparison when it comes to like FIFA. I would compare it to like a bit of F1, to be honest.
Okay.
Like you have around 20, 25, 30 players that actually like make a really good living out of FIFA. And I think these are mainly the names, as we talked about, that has a big following in terms of like doing content and such, but also being really good at the game. So I would say if you really want to make it to like a big team like I play for example, of course you need to be really good at the game. Either you are really, really good at the game, one of the best in the world, or you're really good at doing both content, but also like being really, really good at the game. So it's like, I think, a bit of a balance. But I think the main thing when it comes to like being signed by a big team, you need to perform consistently. Like always, you know, being there at the tournaments. Because unfortunately with this season, you don't really have a lot of opportunities to actually show you on the biggest stage, kind of. Because
How
we
come
don't
is that?
really... Yeah, it's mainly because we don't really have a lot of tournaments this year.
Okay.
Unfortunately. So...
Are we talking about 2023 or 2024 coming up?
Yeah, 2024 coming up.
Okay.
So you need to like definitely, you know, if you're new into this ecosystem, 16 years old nowadays, I would definitely say that you need to like show the world and show the people that you're actually really, really good at the game, and actually starting to like be on these EA broadcasts, you know, LAN events, all that kind of stuff, right? To actually like put a name out for yourself. But the one thing that I did where I succeeded a bit was that, like, as we talked about, I started with YouTube. You know, I made a kind of brand for myself in that kind of way as well. So people already knew who I was before. So that could also be a thing. But as I said, then you also need to like combine it with content and then being good at the game.
Yeah, I was about to say, because that's almost contradictory, because you have to be good enough to, like you said, perform consistently. You have to be good enough to get those results. But at the same time, you kind of have to, I mean, you could be good enough, but if no one sees you, you're obviously not good enough because you don't have the results or the actual eyes on you.
Yeah.
So having that combination of not only being good enough, not only practicing enough, not only getting up to speed with tactics, whatever it is, but then also on the side having Twitch stream, the mental pressure from that one, the pressure of going live every time, like that has to be such a hard deal to actually manage, because apart from that, you have friends, you have relationships, you have to have a social life. Like, how do you even do that? Because I know that's one of the big props to you, that you actually somehow, it looks like you're managing it very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. Sometimes I'm not even good at it either, right?
Yeah.
It goes up and down, and I think mainly it's like before tournaments, you know, I really, really want to put the game down. So I know like 2 weeks before a very, very important tournament, I know that now I will play a lot of FIFA, but I need to, you know, take care of my social life as well, right? So it's definitely a hard kind of process, but I think this also comes with me being a professional FIFA player, like a full-time FIFA player, because I think it was easier, you know, when I went to school, you know, you saw like your friends automatically by then, right? And, you know, just having these kind of routines. And I think that's something that I learned when I joined NIP, you know, I graduated from school, all that kind of stuff, that you need to have this kind of like discipline, you know, to go up. Nowadays, I always go to the gym, the first thing I do, and then I go eat lunch, and then I go stream. And then I basically decide what I do after that, really. So, yeah.
Because one thing we have to touch on, speaking of tough subjects, obviously, is not qualifying for the next stage of the FC Pro. Obviously, huge disappointment for you in terms of just personal achievements.
Yeah.
I gotta say, though, one thing I think coming out from that was the insane amount just support from the community. And that was, I don't know, it was nice to see in terms of what had to be a tough moment for you, like I said, in your professional life. Can you kind of talk us through that moment, not qualifying, and then what is going through your head? How do you then look forward after that? Because I know how much that meant to you.
Yeah, it meant a lot. And especially, as I said, as we don't really have a lot of opportunities this season, there was something that was stinging a lot. But I think the most thing that was hurting was that I actually felt like I was superior in the game. I was better than my opponent in the game, and I felt like the game was a bit against me. I think us guys that has been playing FIFA, and sometimes the game is a bit against you, unfortunately. So it was definitely, as I said, a game that I thought and I actually felt that I deserved to win. But I mean, afterwards, I mean, it was tough. Like the first kind of week after, it was tough, like processing it. I almost had this thought. I had it a couple of times, not a lot of times, but I actually felt that didn't I win this game? You know, like I felt like I was in a bit of a shock that I lost it. You know, a bit like that. And then, you know, I mean, I think the most important thing is to always be open about it, you know. And I mean, that's something with me and my performance coach called Truls, who I've been talking to a lot. And I mean, he's always helping me with that kind of stuff, you know, like what to think, what to do, what to kind of like keep your mind busy on other things. I think that's one thing that's super, super important for like, after.
And that's Truls coming from NFP, your performance coach over there. So what does he talk you through? Kind of just how to process the thoughts you're currently having, how to deal with them, how to maybe go a different route in terms of thoughts. Because one thing I got to give you props for, and you do get a lot of props for it, you're very, very open about the mental struggles, kind of hopefully not anymore, but kind of a taboo subject in terms of not only esports, but also gaming in general. So what's the format of the talks with the Truls? Is that just you trying to learn what your thoughts are? Because I know that could be a huge deal as well, not knowing what you're feeling as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that's super nice with him is that I think that's one of the few guys I would say that I know that I can actually say anything to in terms of, I think, for example, he's better talking to about like this kind of FIFA thing than what it is about talking about it with my dad or mom, you know, because he actually understands how it is. So with him, I can always be like super open because he knows what it feels like, you know. And it's basically like, you know, having this kind of safety kind of person that, you know, okay, I can talk with him about anything and he understands, and also like basically giving me, you know, tips and tricks on how to handle these kind of thoughts and emotions. Because as I said, I think, you know, it was like 3 weeks ago now that I lost, but I still, you know, sometimes have these kind of thoughts in my head, you know, about the game, you know, how could I throw it away, kind of. And it gets easier by the time when you talk about it.
Yeah,
like talking about it is like the most important thing, you know, being open about it and not really keeping it into yourself, because I think that's something that I've been doing in my career and it's not really helping out, you know. So definitely talking about it is the most important thing.
100% agree, and it's just thank you for sharing your thoughts, obviously, because it's such a big deal and such a huge important subject to bring up, and just like you said, just talk about it. So ending on before we head into the Q&A, we're not going to miss it, don't worry. Before we head into that part of it, thoughts and dreams about 2024. You say there's not that many tournaments coming up, so what are you looking forward to? What are your goals for 2024?
I think 2024, I mean, I want to be a world champion, you know, like 1v1.
Nothing too big.
No, nothing too big, exactly. But I think it's mainly, you know, just taking care of myself, really.
Okay.
Like starting to appreciate myself a bit more, because, I mean, I think... you know, I think sometimes I'm telling people that I was born to win, you know, and I think it's sometimes that I put too much pressure on myself because I know what I'm capable of. So just being more nice towards myself, I think that's something that I will definitely try to work on a lot this year. But if we go into the FIFA kind of aspect, you know, always want to win the tournaments that I'm participating in, and hopefully doing well in my league this year as well.
Any goals for streaming? Just being live as much as you can?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to be consistent, you know. I think that's my goal, and I think I've been doing that up to this time, you know. And as I said, consistency is key, you know. And I think that's something that I'm really, really proud of towards my career, you know. I've always been like a consistent guy and always been at top, and that's something that I'm really, really proud of, as I said. So consistency in terms of streaming and also playing the game competitively is something that I'm definitely looking forward to.
I mean, your community is going to love to hear that answer. More streams coming.
Yeah.
Speaking of things community loves, Q&A, it's time. Get ready and keep those questions coming. I have the world's biggest tablet in front of me because that's how many questions you got. So, you know what? Let's just do like a quick fire. I always wanted to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you play in EPREM this year? If yes, for which team? You're used to that question, right?
I'm very, very used to that question. And
Be careful.
I can't say which team.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm just going to leave it.
I can't say which league either. I'm not saying it can be Prem, it can be any other league. Maybe the Spanish league, who knows? I love Spain, you know. So
yeah, trust me, we have questions about that as well. What's something new players should focus most on when starting out on EAFC?
To become better, I would say watch the pro players, I would say. I mean, trying to implement things that they are doing, you know, and always try to, you know, analyze the gameplay instead of like listening to the guy talking, I guess. The thing that I do and some other also pro players do is that I actually try to explain what I do, kind of. So
are you trying to get viewers for your stream?
Maybe
right now?
I am a bit. Maybe I am a bit. But I'm just saying,
though.
like,
that's how you get better. Watch the stream. But I mean, okay. So you, in terms of trying to not a tutorial, but I guess kind of get that walkthrough of making decisions, because you're very good at that. I gotta say, you have that talent of being that insanely good, but still being able to kind of explain your points coming off.
Yep.
How does match day preparation look for you?
Very good question. I would say I usually try to work out during the morning. Having a good breakfast is always important, and trying to work out. Often going for a small run then to get like very tired, mostly because it's mental. I think I need to keep my head fresh, and that's something in terms of keeping my head fresh is basically running. So I always do that. Then always try to keep myself hydrated. I think that's one of the most important points. That's something that Truls been telling me a lot about.
Good.
So
He's not wrong.
nah, he is not wrong. And then my speciality, of course, you need to find your own one, but it's definitely eating a lot of bananas. I do because it's good energy in that.
Okay.
So yep.
So eat bananas, I guess. Okay, eat bananas. Okay, okay. How do you keep motivated, especially after something that just happened? Because, like I said, you had such a high.
Yeah.
How do you then keep motivated after having a bit of a down?
Yeah, it's very, very hard. But I mean, overall, I want to do my best for my family, for my community, all that kind of stuff. So that's, people that motivates me more. So I definitely, I wouldn't say in my career that I had a lot of tournaments where I was like not really motivated for them, because usually like the big tournaments, I'm really, really motivated for, and the motivation is just something that grows in me more when I actually have that kind of failure, right? That I had. So
you're more motivated than ever after that, kind of proving others wrong, I guess, but also yourself, I can imagine.
Exactly, but also trying to be on that level where even if the game is going against you, you won't lose.
Yeah.
Like trying to just be that good that even if you have an off day, you still win. Right?
Okay.
So yeah.
This is a good one. What's Ole's Twitch channel?
Twitch channel. My name is Ollelito _. There.
Perfect. Can you remove the underscore? You tried, haven't you?
We have a girl at NIP called Daniela that's trying. So
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, if she's on it, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so top 3 tips that you can share with us in terms of EAFC, I'm guessing. So it's kind of usual to the first one, but if let's say I start EAFC today, what's the 3 tips I should kind of focus on to become a better player quicker? Because there is practice, but you can also practice in a wrong way.
I would say like the top 3 tips I would give is definitely trying to learn the meta skill moves, like knowing which skill moves are the best on the game, because sometimes you have people that just do skill moves because of doing them, and pro players are doing them because they actually create more space or whatsoever. The second tip I would say is, as I talked about before, just trying to like watch the best players, because you will learn a lot from them, what they are doing. And the third tip, good one, I would say maybe trying to like really learn how to build up an attack, because I think that's the most important thing. Like building up, if you lose the ball in build up, you will concede a lot of goals. And if you do a good build up, you will have a good chance of scoring a goals. So that's one of the most important things, I think. 3
quick ones before we let you go. I know you have a long train trip ahead of you, especially in this weather. So 3 quick ones. Spain or Sweden?
Sweden.
FIFA or EAFC?
FIFA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this next one, it doesn't have anything to do with the first questions we asked about the E-Prem. Just La Liga or Premier League?
I would say Premier League. Yeah.
Okay. Good answer. Olle, we cannot thank you enough for coming. A huge good luck from everyone, not only here, but obviously at NIP as well. So thank you so much. And for the people at home, make sure you follow NIP on social media. Make sure you follow this guy as well, Ollelito, on all social media across the board as well. Next time we're back, we'll be back just right before New Year's with... trust me, an unmissable show. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Olle. Thank you everyone behind the camera and in the studio. I'll see you next time.